Hidden within these two videos lies a disturbing secret. On October 9th, 2013, a typical afternoon would take a sinister turn when soon-to-be missing teenager Abby Hernandez left Kenneth High School at precisely 2:31 p.m. Clad in a striped sweater, jeans, and boots, she walked away, unaware of the darkness that awaited her. For the longest time, this marked Abby's last known location. Her mother, Zenia Hernandez, clung to hope, stating, "Abby, you're a strong young woman. I believe you're alive, and I know that hope speaks louder." Remarkably, a year later, Abby returned, appearing at her mother's doorstep in the very same clothes she had worn the day she vanished. The reappearance of the missing teen, now known as Abby Hernandez, brought a mix of relief and confusion. She returned to her mother's home but chose not to disclose the name of her alleged kidnapper. The harrowing details emerged. The 14-year-old had reportedly been strapped to a bed, subjected to torture via a stun gun, and forced to wear a shock collar. Yet, what followed her return was even more perplexing. Rather than relief, the public's reaction was tinged with anger. Questions swirled. Had this child really been held captive for 9 grueling months? Skeptics began to surface, suggesting that Abby was merely a rebellious teenager who had run away. Many claimed she was not in danger, accusing her of playing the victim for attention. From the very beginning, the narrative surrounding Abby's case seemed fishy. Some voiced their disbelief, stating, "Victims don't act like that." The chorus of skepticism grew louder, demanding answers. The circumstances of Abby's disappearance continued to raise troubling questions. As the police dug deeper into the complexities of her abduction, it became evident they were not dealing with an ordinary criminal. Reports surfaced claiming that the suspect believed he was preparing for a zombie apocalypse, and law enforcement described a device found at his residence as a bomb. Amid the chaos, Abby revealed chilling fears, stating, "He's everywhere, with the whole world against me and an armed psychopath on the loose." The young girl was trapped in a nightmare, battling to summon the courage to unveil the truth. It was October 9th, 2013, the day everything changed. 14-year-old Abby Hernandez was heading home after a long day at school. Her new boots, a birthday gift from her mother, Zenia, caused her feet to ache, and she walked with a slight limp. Yet her heart was light with anticipation for her upcoming birthday party, just 3 days away. As she arrived at the schoolyard, she caught sight of the bus pulling away, leaving her with no choice but to embark on the long walk home. 2 hours later, Zenia returned from her shift at the hospital, only to find their house eerily empty. It was an unsettling sight. Abby never strayed far from home. Zenia felt a wave of worry wash over her. Abby was known to be kind-hearted and responsible, always reaching out to communicate. "Maybe she's at school with her friends," she thought, but as she visited the school, the librarian's words struck a chord. "I saw her leave." The panic set in. "Is she hurt? Did she get hit by a car?" Zenia's mind raced with possibilities. She called the hospital, praying for news, but was met with silence. No one had seen her daughter. Most would jump to conclusions, assuming Abby had run away, but Zenia refused to believe that. As the hours ticked by, Zenia Hernandez clung to the hope that her daughter, Abby, was simply at school, enjoying time with friends. However, her heart sank when the librarian informed her that she had witnessed Abby leave the school premises. In that moment, worry transformed into fear. What if Abby had suffered an injury? What if she had been in an accident? Zenia's mind raced with possibilities, prompting her to call the hospital, only to learn that Abby had not been admitted. Most would have jumped to the conclusion that Abby had run away, but Zenia knew her daughter too well to entertain that thought. With Abby's birthday approaching in just 3 days, the notion of her vanishing seemed unfathomable. Abby was brimming with excitement. They were orchestrating a grand celebration, inviting friends to join in the festivities. Zenia reached out to Abby's best friend, who recounted that only moments before Abby left, they had taken a cheerful selfie together. Nothing about Abby's demeanor suggested distress. This image, filled with youthful joy, would become the last known photograph of Abby. The two friends had shared laughter and camaraderie in science class. Zenia reflected on Abby's character. Her daughter faced challenges head-on, never one to shy away from them. Even during her conversation with the police after reporting Abby missing, her strength shone through. The officers concurred. Abby was not the type to run away. She had a strong bond with her mother, a connection that made the idea of her fleeing seem implausible. To those who knew her, there was nothing that indicated Abby would abandon her life and loved ones. Law enforcement officials agreed that Abby didn't fit the profile of a runaway. Known for her deep familial bonds and her closeness with her mother, there were no signs suggesting that she would simply abandon her life. To those who knew her, Abby embodied classic teenage girl behavior, vibrant and full of life. Yet, within hours of her disappearance, the news rippled through the community, sending shockwaves across the small town of Conway. New Hampshire, renowned for being one of the safest states in the nation, was now grappling with a grim reality. The last high-profile abduction in the state had occurred back in 1986, a haunting reminder of how rare such events were. As the community held its breath, the search for Abby intensified. The Conway police initiated their search immediately. Soon, the Attorney General's office joined the effort, and the FBI, along with state police, formed a massive dragnet across North Conway, determined to locate Abby Hernandez. As 3 grueling days of searching passed, Abby's birthday approached, a bittersweet milestone that brought the community together to hold a vigil in her honor. The air was thick with emotion as voices echoed, "Happy birthday to you. I miss you so badly." With heartfelt declarations, friends and family sent their messages into the night. "Sarah and I think about you all the time, and we want you back with us, please. We love you. We miss you." In an exclusive interview, Zenia Hernandez opened up, sharing the haunting dreams of her daughter that kept her awake as the nightmare unfolded in real life. Little did Zenia know, her own words would echo the chilling truth of Abby's situation, which began just 3 days earlier. On that fateful day, Abby walked home from school, her feet blistered and sore. Halfway through her journey, a car pulled alongside her. The driver leaned over, pointing at her limp, and offered a ride home. Tempted by the prospect of comfort, Abby reluctantly accepted, her feet aching beyond measure. Regret washed over her as she recalled, "I just feel so bad that I got in the car. You were 14. You were a child." As they approached town, the driver suddenly veered towards an isolated parking lot, triggering alarm bells in Abby's mind. A gut feeling surged within her, compelling her to speak up. "You know what? I actually live really close to here. I think I can walk," she insisted, unbuckling her seatbelt. It was a fateful decision. The driver stiffened and in a moment of terror began searching for something. Then, she saw it. A gun. In an instant, Abby was handcuffed and blindfolded, her world spiraling into darkness as they drove away. The man shoved her down beneath the dashboard, hiding her from any potential witnesses. Desperate, she fought back. But the situation escalated rapidly. Pain pierced through her leg, igniting fear as she thought, "Oh my God, I've been shot." She was not ready to die. Despite overwhelming terror, Abby summoned her strength to resist. With every push against her captor, the pain intensified, revealing a grim truth. She was not being shot. She was being shocked repeatedly with a stun gun. Helpless and frightened, she shifted tactics, attempting to reason with her abductor. "I said, I don't judge you for this. If you let me go, I won't tell anybody." And I asked him, "Are you going to kill me?" The chilling response echoed in her ears. "Call me master." After what felt like an eternity in the car, the kidnapper finally stopped. Abby was dragged into a building and thrown onto a filthy mattress. As the blindfold was removed, she took in her surroundings, her heart racing at the sight of cold metal floors beneath her. Within the confines of a dimly lit room, walls padded with soundproof material and padlocked doors created an atmosphere of utter isolation. But the true horror lay in the figure looming before her, his face obscured by a golden Halloween mask. With a chilling sense of authority, he proceeded to chain each of Abby Hernandez's limbs to the cold, unyielding metal bars surrounding the mattress. He then placed a t-shirt over her head, followed by a motorcycle helmet, a cruel method of silencing her. In a menacing tone, he warned her that any attempt to scream or escape would lead to dire consequences. His threats were as terrifying as they were vivid. "I can blow your brains out. I can slit your throat open." The next 3 days morphed into a relentless cycle of abuse and torture, trapping Abby in a nightmare far worse than she could have ever envisioned. Heavy metal music blared from unseen speakers, drowning out her thoughts as she lay gagged and disoriented. Stripped of any sense of time, she prayed fervently, her mind racing. In those desperate moments, she refrained from saying amen, fearing that uttering the word would end her pleas and leave her abandoned by God. As the search for Abby resumed the following morning, her captor cruelly informed her that she had become a news story. He showed her his phone, forcing her to witness the press conference where her mother, Zenia Hernandez, pleaded for her return. The sight of her mother's tearful face struck Abby like a bolt of lightning. "We want you back with us, please," Zenia's voice rang out. It was then that the reality of her situation hit her, and tears streamed down her cheeks for the first time, realizing that no one knew where she was or what she was enduring. Abby's horrifying ordeal stretched on for nearly 2 weeks until her captor came up with a twisted plan. He ordered her to write a letter to her mother, convinced it would convince the police to stop their search, instructing her to make it appear as though she had run away. But Abby, with a flicker of defiance, saw this as her sole chance to reach out to the outside world. As she wrote, she secretly carved a desperate message on the back of the page using her fingernails. Help. The weight of her situation loomed heavily over her as she feared for her life, convinced that tonight could be her last. When her captor claimed to have discovered her hidden messages, Abby's heart sank, echoing her worst fears. Though her kidnapper had no immediate intention of killing her, he still subjected her to torment. He coldly remarked, "You know, I'm thinking of finding something a little more humane for you," revealing his sadistic nature. He taunted her by suggesting a shock collar, a device he likened to those used on dogs. When he placed it around her neck, he cruelly pressed his tongue against her feet, and despite her efforts to remain silent, the pain forced a scream from her lips. In that moment, Abby felt like she was enduring the worst torture imaginable. "This is torture," she thought. Yet deep within her she clung to the hope that the police would find her before it was too late. The masked man, believing he could manipulate the narrative, compelled Abby to write a second letter. This time, he dictated phrases that forced her to apologize for her supposed actions, stating, "Dear Mom, I'm sorry I did this." It would take a week for the letter to reach Zenia, a full month after Abby's disappearance. Amid the turmoil, the masked kidnapper forced the teenager to pen a second letter. In a chilling twist, he made her write, "Dear Mom, I'm sorry I did this." This letter would take a week to reach Zenia, arriving a full month after Abby had disappeared. The letter marked the first tangible sign that Abby was still alive. For 4 agonizing weeks, Zenia felt numb, trapped in a reality she couldn't accept. Then, the arrival of the letter ignited a flicker of hope within her. A mix of joy and confusion washed over her as she read the words. Zenia recognized her daughter's handwriting, yet unsettling doubts crept in. "It's her, but it's not her," she thought. The content felt strangely off, leaving her to question the authenticity of the message. "Dear Mom, I miss you and love you more than you can imagine. I'm sorry I did this. I've seen the newspaper and TV reports, and to answer your questions, yes, I'm alive. I miss you, Mom." The letter began, but it concluded with a chilling note. "But I won't tell you where I am." The police aligned with Zenia's concerns, deeming the information too sensitive to release to the public. They confirmed Abby's DNA profile matched the letter, yet the circumstances surrounding its composition remained shrouded in mystery. Questions loomed large. How had Abby managed to send a letter? Was she truly still in captivity, or was her captor aware of the dangers she faced? Attorney General Jane Young recognized the urgent need for action. The letter represented the only lead they had. If they were to locate Abby, they had to take a calculated risk, revealing the letter's existence and rallying the public for assistance. They believed it carried Abby's voice. The underlying question remained, was she safe? Did her ability to write and send a letter indicate she was all right? Was this a tragic case of a runaway or a sinister abduction? The investigation remained classified as a missing person case, yet the press conference had an unexpected consequence. Public sentiment began to shift, turning against the missing teenager. Many questions lingered regarding Abby's disappearance, and all that Zenia wished for were honest answers. In the eyes of the public, the narrative surrounding Abby Hernandez had begun to solidify into a troubling assumption. Many believed she was merely a rebellious teenager who had chosen to run away. Yet the chilling reality was that no one truly knew what had transpired. Some even suggested that she should reimburse the state for the resources spent on her search, dismissing her plight with skepticism. From the outset, the story had taken on an unsettling air, prompting whispers of doubt. As disinterest in the case grew, rumors spread like wildfire, particularly at Kenneth's high school, where Abby, her best friend Miranda, and her boyfriend Jimmy shared fleeting moments of teenage life. Reporters, prioritizing headlines, declared that if Abby was simply a runaway, then her story was not newsworthy. Yet, for students, the gossip was a constant topic of conversation, with many speculating that perhaps Abby had run away due to an unexpected pregnancy. However, the police had quickly cleared Jimmy of any wrongdoing, leaving the Attorney General, Jane Young, with a critical decision. She faced the choice of labeling Abby either as a runaway or as a victim of abduction. Thankfully, Jane Young chose the latter, acknowledging the gravity of the situation. It was clear to those close to Abby that a 14-year-old girl simply does not vanish into thin air. She lacked the means to drive, and there was money left behind at home, money she had not taken with her. All she had were the clothes on her back, which painted a grim picture fitting the definition of kidnapping. Despite the lack of media coverage, which contributed to a decrease in public tips, the case quickly cooled, leaving many to wonder if Abby's story would fade into obscurity. Yet Zenia, Abby's mother, refused to let that happen. As the months dragged on, she tirelessly made public appearances alongside Jane Young, reading heartfelt pleas to anyone who would listen. With each appearance, she sought to keep her daughter's name alive, reaching out to the few reporters still willing to give her story the attention it desperately needed. Zenia's voice trembled with emotion as she shared her messages with Abby. "Dear Abby, I believe you're out there somewhere, watching and listening to me right now. I miss you and love you so much more than you can imagine. Abby, you're a strong young woman, and I'm staying strong for you. You are courageous, you are smart, and you are beautiful." With unwavering hope, she continued, "Abby, you matter to me. I believe you're alive, and I know that hope speaks louder than fear. Abby, I keep having a dream where you come home, and I give you the biggest hug ever. I know in my heart this dream means something and that it matters. I pray to God it will come true. Love, Mom." 5 months later, in a small town 30 miles north of Conway, the darkness of the case deepened with the emergence of Nathaniel Kibby, a 34-year-old firearm machinist whose involvement would reveal the chilling truth behind Abby's disappearance. 5 months later, in a small town 30 miles north of Conway, a seemingly ordinary day would take a dark turn. Nathaniel Kibby, a 34-year-old firearm machinist, was driving home when an unexpected collision occurred. A female driver had accidentally hit his car. In a fit of rage, Kibby exited his vehicle and resorted to violence, using the handle of his pistol to knock the woman down. To the police, this act appeared random, but in truth it was a chilling reminder of the man who had kidnapped Abby 6 months prior. After the assault, authorities arrested Kibby, forcing him to surrender his most prized possessions, his extensive gun collection. During the investigation, it became clear that Kibby was a man of strong convictions regarding his constitutional rights. As one officer noted, "He's probably going to argue everything you're going to say." Kibby's knowledge of the Constitution was profound, and he often cited its origins and meanings. In a surprising twist, Kibby contacted the police ahead of his scheduled gun surrender, requesting immediate collection. "This is the first time for me that anyone has contacted us ahead of the paperwork getting to us," an officer remarked, noting the unusual nature of Kibby's behavior. Upon arriving at Kibby's property, Officer Eric Benjamin, who knew him personally, was struck by an oversized shipping container in the backyard. When questioned about its contents, Kibby dismissed the inquiry, stating that the court order only required him to surrender his firearms. Without cause to investigate further, the officers complied. Kibby took measures to keep the police at bay, ensuring that Abby's disappearance had faded from public interest. After 5 months, many believed she had simply run away. Yet a few local news outlets continued to cover her case, alongside the heartfelt efforts of friends desperate to find her. The words, "We miss you, Abby," flashed across the screen of a new video on the Bring Abby Home website, a compilation of messages from friends who missed the vibrant teenager. Messages flooded in, filled with emotions. One friend wrote, "Dear Abby, I cannot tell you enough how much you are missed." Another added, "Hi Abby, I know I haven't seen you in a while. I really need you back. There's nobody else like you. Letters shared on the website reflected the sadness and confusion of those left behind. One friend expressed, "One of the hardest things is knowing that I can't talk to you when I need you the most." The community's hope remained alive, with pleas echoing through the digital realm. "But yeah, we just really miss you, Abby. Please be home soon." In the aftermath of Kibby's confrontation with law enforcement, a storm of paranoia enveloped him. Inside the bunker where Abby was held, her conditions grew increasingly dire. Kibby chained Abby at all times, installing tubes and pumps beside her bed, allowing her to drink independently while he sometimes vanished for days. The atmosphere was thick with dread, and Abby's fate hung precariously in the balance. As Kibby's paranoia escalated, he took an alarming step. "You know too much, so I need to move you. We can't stay here," he told her, his voice laced with urgency. Abby recounted the terrifying experience, recalling, "He put me in the trunk of a car and we drove for a really long time." When they arrived at their destination, he carried her over his shoulder into a room and unceremoniously dumped her on a mattress. In this new space, he created a makeshift room for her, where she would endure months of confinement. Abby noticed screws and wires on the door, a grim reminder of her captivity and Kibby's tightening grip on her fate. In a chilling revelation, Nathaniel Kibby confessed to Abby Hernandez that he had rigged the door. If it were ever forced open, flames would engulf the room. As he tied her up, he posed a sinister question, asking if she wanted to know how he had acquired these skills. He delved into his past, recounting his harrowing experiences in juvenile prison. There, he had faced brutal abuse. 6 months into Abby's horrifying captivity, this marked the first time Kibby opened up to her. Over the ensuing weeks, a peculiar dialogue began to flourish between them. Kibby, an atheist and staunch objectivist, engaged Abby in debates about the existence of God and his libertarian beliefs. Abby noticed that he relished these exchanges, each conversation revealing a layer of his complex psyche. Yet, despite these discussions, Abby continued to view him as a monster. The worst of the torment may have receded, but Kibby's daily abuse persisted. The tormenting words never ceased, echoing through her mind as she fought for survival. There was an unsettling moment when Kibby had fallen asleep beside her. Facing the door, Abby awoke to find her blindfold removed. Panic surged through her as she rolled over, catching a glimpse of his face. Instinctively, she sat up and covered her eyes, fearing that he might kill her. He had warned her to forget what he looked like. However, as the weeks dragged on, Abby realized something unsettling. The more she attempted to connect with Kibby, the less violent he became. An avid reader, he provided her with numerous books for distraction during her confinement. Among these was a cookbook that would ultimately play a pivotal role in her escape. After 9 long months in captivity, Abby unnervingly found herself growing accustomed to her surroundings. Kibby had told her, "You're like the closest thing I'll ever have to a daughter." He seemed to believe he was teaching her valuable lessons, further complicating her feelings about him. One day, as she flipped through the cookbook, she stumbled upon a name written in block letters. Nate Kibby. Curiosity ignited, she asked him about the name. His expression shifted to one of disappointment as he took a deep breath, asking, "How do you know my name?" As time passed, Abby unraveled more about her captor. He stopped wearing his mask, revealing his face and sharing snippets of his disturbing past and beliefs. From discussions about Ayn Rand to his admiration for the Gadsden flag, Kibby frequently lectured Abby on libertarianism. It was no surprise when he unveiled a scheme to retaliate against the government he despised. He mused about creating counterfeit money, arguing that they owed him for the wrongs he believed they had inflicted upon him. Kibby proposed, "Let's make some fake money." Abby understood that to gain his trust, she had to comply with his whims. As they spent more time together in this illicit endeavor, Kibby's interest in her began to wane. Although the abuse continued, Kibby increasingly sought the company of sex workers. One such individual, 27-year-old Lauren Monday from Nashua, encountered him during this unsettling period. Kibby had suggested a sinister plan. "Let's make some fake money." In a twisted bid for trust, he manipulated those around him, including Abby. As they spent time together, creating counterfeit bills, his interest in her began to wane. Though the abuse continued, he increasingly turned to sex workers for companionship. One of these women, 27-year-old Lauren Monday from Nashua, had an unsettling encounter with him. Lauren felt a deep sense of unease. Kibby seemed desperate for someone to confide in, saying he had done bad things. In a moment of vulnerability, she replied, "You know, we all have done bad things in life." They rented a hotel room, but according to Lauren, Kibby sought neither her services nor her physical presence, only emotional support and reassurance. He tenderly rubbed her head and played with her hair until she drifted off to sleep. When Lauren awoke, she found a pile of $50 bills on the table but no sign of Kibby. Later that day, she attempted to use that money to buy groceries at the local Walmart, only to be met with suspicion from the cashier, who paused before asking for more information. In a shocking turn of events, Lauren Monday found herself in a precarious situation. Just moments after her transaction, the cashier returned, delivering unsettling news. The bill she had used was revealed to be a poorly made counterfeit, and the police were on their way. Enraged and sensing the urgency, Lauren didn't hesitate for a moment. In a furious outburst, she confronted him, demanding to know why he hadn't warned her. "How dare you play with my freedom?" she yelled, though Kibby had given her a false name. In a desperate attempt to help herself, Lauren provided the police with Kibby's email address and a detailed description of his battered vehicle. She warned him, "Whatever you're making in your damn basement, you better clean it up right now because they are coming for your ass." Meanwhile, oblivious to the chaos unfolding with Lauren, Abby was jolted from her thoughts when Kibby violently slammed the door open, unleashing a torrent of nonsensical rage upon her. Yet, as she had done countless times before, Abby maintained her composure. She reached out to him and calmly inquired about the source of his distress. After 9 harrowing months in captivity, Abby had become intimately familiar with Kibby. She had learned how to navigate his volatile moods, developing a strategy to diffuse his explosive outbursts. Her approach was simple yet profound: listen and remain calm, an extraordinary feat under the relentless torment she endured. If there were to be a textbook on coping with abduction, the first chapter would undoubtedly feature Abby. As Kibby hastily explained the recent events, he ordered her to step outside, unaware of the revelations that awaited her. As Abby crossed the threshold, she was struck by a shocking realization. Behind the explosive rigged door lay the very first room where she had been held captive. She had never truly left Kibby's bunker when he had relocated her 4 months prior. Kibby had merely driven in circles for hours, only to return her to the same sinister location, now in a different section of his lair. Once inside his actual home, he removed Abby's shock collar and handed her a black plastic bag, returning the clothes she had been abducted in. "I need to get you out of here," he stated. One might assume Kibby intended to transfer her to another location or eliminate her altogether. Yet, what set Abby's case apart was her approach. She had managed to humanize her captor. 9 months ago, Kibby would have likely acted without hesitation to dispose of her. But now, he had developed a twisted attachment to the young teenager, a bond forged through Abby's remarkable resilience. She possessed an extraordinary ability to recognize the humanity even in her tormentor. Using this insight as a vital survival technique, Abby engaged in a psychological dance with Kibby, gaining his trust against all odds. Finding a way to see the humanity in someone who treated her so cruelly became her survival mantra. As they ventured onto the road, uncertainty gripped Abby's heart. Would he abandon her in another state or hand her over to a darker fate? Her pulse quickened as she spotted a sign reading "Conway ahead." Soon after, Kibby stopped the car at the very spot where he had snatched her almost a year earlier. The road was eerily deserted. "Either way," he commanded. "Get out!" With a heavy heart, Abby slammed the door as he drove away. Just like that, she was left to confront her freedom once more, a moment she desperately longed to embrace. Abby Hernandez longed for this moment, the moment of freedom. As she stepped into the light, laughter bubbled up within her, a joyous disbelief flooding her senses. She thought to herself, "Oh my God, this actually happened. I'm a free person. I never thought it would happen to me." In an ironic twist, Abby found herself completing a 9-month journey home, her heart soaring in the same boots that had carried her through unimaginable darkness. Approaching her doorstep, she felt the thrill of returning. The familiar sound of her mother's voice reached her ears, a comforting melody amidst the chaos. She flung the door open and called out, "Mom!" The response came, filled with disbelief and joy. "Abby!" In that instant, her mother rushed toward her, as if her very existence had been a dream. A shudder coursed through Abby as she beheld her mother, the reality of the moment crashing over her. It was beautiful, yet heartbreaking. Her mother's face bore the weight of months filled with worry and stress, a pain that pierced Abby's heart. But relief washed over her, for she was finally home. Yet, the nightmare was far from over for Abby. Just before releasing her, Nathaniel Kibby had issued a chilling warning. With the civil case against him dismissed, he had regained possession of his firearms. He threatened her, declaring that if she dared to reveal his identity, retaliation would be swift. Kibby's threats loomed like a dark cloud over her newfound freedom. Abby was determined to protect her family, and so she kept his name a secret. He had warned her that he would kill police officers if they came for him, and that her family would not be safe either. The threats were relentless and palpable. Abby could only describe the fear that gripped her heart, the fear of his wrath. She expressed her anxiety, convinced that he was watching her every move, whispering that he would come for them all. In moments of desperation, she told someone about her fears, only to be met with disbelief. "No," she insisted. "He doesn't." But the terror was real, and the threat felt tangible, leaving her breathless with anxiety. When the public became aware of Abby's silence, outrage flared anew. The same questions that had haunted the community for months resurfaced, casting shadows on her recovery. How could a child endure 9 long months as a prisoner? Was it real? Even without Abby's words, a witness named Lauren Monday had previously testified about counterfeit money, which should have pointed investigators toward Kibby. Yet, amidst a widespread counterfeit operation in New Hampshire, the clues slipped through the cracks. Claremont police issued warnings to the community, urging vigilance against counterfeit cash. But questions lingered. Was this part of a larger conspiracy or merely an isolated incident? With danger closing in, Abby faced a critical choice. Drawing strength from her family's love, Abby found the courage to act. She knew that keeping Kibby's identity hidden meant potential harm for others. With resolve, she revealed his name to the FBI, determined to ensure he would never harm anyone again. In a coordinated effort with local police, the FBI prepared to raid Kibby's property. Abby listened closely, the radio crackling with reports of a pistol tucked into his waistband. The tension was palpable, and she feared the next transmission might announce gunfire. Gathering every ounce of courage, Lauren made a pivotal decision. She resolved to ensure that Nathaniel Kibby would never harm anyone again by revealing his identity to the FBI. Collaborating closely with local police, federal agents organized a large-scale raid on Kibby's property, a strategic move that could put an end to his reign of terror. As the tension mounted, radio communications crackled to life. Reports indicated that Kibby had a pistol tucked into his waistband, and a chilling sense of dread settled over the team. It felt as if the next transmission would announce the sound of gunfire. To the surprise of federal agents, but not the local police, Kibby chose to surrender without a fight. Nathaniel Kibby acted true to form. He exhibited violence when he held the upper hand, but was never confrontational with law enforcement. For the next 2.5 years, investigators, alongside Attorney General Jane Young, meticulously built their case against him, while Kibby awaited his judgment behind bars. The evidence amassed was staggering, culminating in 183 charges against the 34-year-old, ranging from kidnapping to numerous counts of sexual assault and even the production of counterfeit currency. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Kibby had no option but to accept a court-mandated plea deal, pleading guilty to 7 of the charges. This agreement ensured him a lengthy prison sentence of 45 to 90 years. Initially, he stood against 183 charges, but the plea deal with the state significantly altered his fate. Kibby ultimately pled guilty to 7 charges, sealing his fate behind bars for 45 to 90 years. The investigation had revealed a chilling truth. Every painstaking detail provided by Abby Hernandez, the victim, was undeniably accurate. There was no doubt. The evidence was overwhelming. Hundreds of pieces of physical evidence, purchase records, and statements from witnesses corroborated Abby's harrowing account. Every day, those involved in the investigation felt a sense of relief that Abby had escaped. Abby had become the one who got away, defying the odds and ensuring her story would not become just another cold case of an innocent child. Since Kibby's sentencing, Abby achieved remarkable milestones, from graduating high school to pursuing her dream of becoming a hairdresser, a goal she had held even before the nightmare began. In addition, she embraced motherhood and took on the role of executive producer for a film based on her harrowing experience. However, her most profound victory came earlier, on May 26, 2016, when she bravely took the stand in court to confront Kibby on her own terms. It was a dramatic day in a New Hampshire courtroom, a young woman standing resolute before the 34-year-old man charged with kidnapping her. 2 long years had passed, but the memories of Kibby lingered in her mind. Abby spoke with a heavy heart, revealing, "What he did affects my life on a day-to-day basis. My name does not carry the same meaning it once did before October 9th. I need to be safe, and so does my family." With a steely determination, she recounted how Kibby had pointed a gun at her, making it clear that none of this was her choice. "You chose to hit me. You chose to threaten me. I'm just telling you the truth," she declared, her voice unwavering. Abby expressed the burden she felt, likening her experience to wearing a millstone around her ankle. "Sometimes I still feel chained. There are aspects of my freedom that I can never reclaim," she reflected, grappling with the emotional scars that remain. Yet, amidst her pain, she conveyed a surprising message. "I want you to know that I appreciate my freedom because of you, and I cherish life because of you. I no longer see sunshine in the same way," she shared, her strength shining through. While some may label him a monster, Abby chose a different perspective. "I've always seen you as human, and even though life became much harder after that day, I still forgive you," she concluded, a testament to her resilience and capacity for healing.